All right. So your kids probably know more about your money habits than you might think. So they do notice the stress when you're at Target or maybe those Amazon packages come. Maybe if you and your partner argue about money, they see the generosity and they also see the grocery choices. The good news is you do not need to become a financial expert overnight to break generational money patterns. So today we're going to talk about some simple debt-free family financial habits that you can teach your kids about money naturally without the awkward lectures or making them feel scared or insecure. How do we do this, right? Especially if we didn't grow up maybe with a positive view of money, or maybe it was something that wasn't even talked about. And if you want to learn a little bit more about this too, I did an episode, episode 98 with a trauma therapist, and we talk a lot about like the words, especially that we use. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but that's a great episode to get another perspective as well. Someone that is highly trained in trauma and how she advises people on how to talk about money. So that's a great episode. Check that out. But today we're going to talk about how our kids learn more from watching us than any lecture that we could we could give them. So I definitely saw this. I spent many years before I became a parent. I spent many years working with teenagers, and it was amazing because they never talked about necessarily the conversations that they had with their parents. They made statements about their observations. And so I thought that was really interesting. And especially now, as a parent of a 7-year-old, I definitely see there's so much that they don't necessarily we don't even think that they're watching, but they are seeing. And so sometimes that is the words that we say, and sometimes it's our actions or our responses to things. So for instance, when they hear us say we can't afford that versus that's not in our budget right now. Or maybe they're watching us with those impulse purchases. Or maybe they're learning delayed gratification. Are they learning meal planning or saving up for something that they really want? Do they see you comparing prices? Or do they see you freak out and stress about things that come up, these surprise expenses? So money habits are often caught and not taught. So parents with ADHD might struggle with the consistency, but consistency with these little habits is going to be better than big speeches. And so what I mean by that is you don't need to have a color-coded spreadsheet to raise financially healthy kids. You just need to have some visible intentionality. So how does that play out in some money conversations? And when I talk about consistency, so consistency doesn't mean like, okay, we have to talk about it every single day. It could be at different times when we are interacting with money. What I mean by that is at the grocery store, we can say things like, hey, we're going to stick to our grocery budget. Or we've already planned snacks for this week. Maybe while you're paying bills, might be paying bills helps us take care of our family. Those are great things, right? So maybe what do we say when our kids ask for something? Now, this one is, for me, this is the one that comes up a lot. It being consistent means saying the same thing every single time. So you might say things like, you can save up for that, or let's add that to your birthday list. That's absolutely something that I say a lot. Let's add that to your birthday list or your Christmas list. Whatever the next gift giving holiday is adding that to the list. Now that's teaching them some delayed gratification, and it's super, super good for your kids and yourself and your budget. So how about identifying what's a need and a want? So when I ask for something that's not part of the basic needs, then letting them know that's a want, not a need. How about when we have those financial wins? We paid cash for this. That's a really awesome thing to share with your kids. Or we avoided debt on purpose. So not putting something on a credit card, or we saved for this ahead of time. Those types of things are going to be when our kids hear those things over and over again, they're going to go, hey, I want to do that because I see how that's happened, how that's changed our family. And so tying those money conversations to existing routines is very helpful for them to see, and you can model it in your day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be a full-on conversation, sit down, let's have a family meeting and talk about money. It can be while you're grocery shopping or when those Amazon deliveries come. And I'm not saying Amazon deliveries are bad. I'm saying, hey, this was something that we need, or this was in the budget, that kind of stuff. Maybe it's around payday or family movie nights that you're able to be together. Meal planning. That's a really great one because nothing is more humbling than when your kid points out, "Hey, why do you have money for that, but I don't have money for my game or a new Barbie or put anything in there," right? When we say, "Hey, we've got money for our coffee, but we don't have it for that." So, you know what? You get to make those decisions for you and your family what's best. So, how do we involve our kids though in these conversations without stressing them out? So, this is where we want to have them participate in an appropriate level for their age or their capacity. And so, ways that you can involve your kids, whether you have younger kids or older kids. So, younger kids like myself, my daughter's 7 right now, having her choose between 2 different kind of snacks when we're at the store. Or maybe it's comparing prices and pointing out like, "Hey, this costs this amount, but this costs this. Which one do you think we should get? Like, what's a better option that's going to satisfy the need that we have right now?" How about putting cash in a savings jar? Or, like we have a jar that we put all of our coins in. And so having them put that money in there, just doing that act is going to be helpful. Meal planning, I talk about this a lot on the show because it is one of the last things that we did, but it's one of the first things that I wish we would have done because we need to feed our families. And so teaching young kids or older kids also how to plan out meals so that we're not wasting food. It's an incredible way to show our kids how important it is to stay on budget when it comes to our groceries and our food budget. So maybe you're a parent of older kids. So maybe it is showing them simple budget categories and saying, "Hey, these are things that we're saving for, or these are different things that we want to make sure that are included in our budget every single month." Maybe it's helping them find cheaper alternatives to things that aren't going to cost as much, but maybe they're going to accomplish the same goal. And, and shopping around, maybe they need a new, more new shoes for a sport they're in. So helping them search online for maybe it's not the same store that they always go to. Maybe they're trying to find something at a different store for for a lower price, so they can still get the shoes that they need but not spend as much. Having them, involving them in conversations and discussions about earning money and spending and saving and teaching those things early on. And then, like I said, helping with like the whole grocery shopping, the grocery experience, whether you order your groceries and have those delivered or you do pickup, but having them practice those things, they're going to see how much things cost. So there's going to be some additional intentionality there, but it's helping to create these opportunities to see the value in the money that you earn to provide for them, but also give them a sense of participation and also learning something new. So one thing that we want to make sure that's really important is we don't want to put our adult stress on our kids, whether they're young or older. We don't want them to feel responsible for that kind of stuff. So being mindful of how much we do share. We can share our meal plans and our groceries and things like that, but we don't want to share the panic and the fear if we have that. That's a time for you and your partner to have those conversations away from your kids so that they're not taking on those adult stressors. So a couple other things that we can do to shift some of these things and just have these sayings in your back pocket is we're making intentional choices with our money. And when your kids start to hear that over and over again, then they're going to be able to start making intentional choices with the money maybe that you get them, or when they're given the opportunity to make those decisions on their own, they're going to be more intentional with that. So many of us grow up, we either maybe heard nothing about money, or maybe all you heard was panic and stress and fear about money. We're trying to create a healthier middle ground where we can still talk about money in a healthy way, but also give them some tools that they can contribute to the overall household, but also teach them so that when they're on their own, they're able to make these decisions and have these conversations in a healthy way. So, what are some of the most powerful habits that kids notice? So, some small repeated actions over time are going to be way more valuable for them than one big lesson where you sit down and teach them how to budget and all of these things, right? We take this information in small doses on purpose, and so the same thing is going to be for them. So, here are some habits that you can highlight and share with them without necessarily sharing how much is in your bank account or credit score or how much debt you have. It could be budgeting regularly and them seeing you plan your budget regularly. And it's saying no sometimes. because, modeling that delayed gratification. So not necessarily always saying no to them, but saying no to yourself and then making that known to them so that they know. Planning ahead for purchases, using your, cash or debit card intentionally. Maybe it's avoiding those impulse purchases. Now, I know this one's a hard hard one for myself, the impulse purchases. So that's why, I teach my clients we have a special line item for those things. And so I think especially if you struggle with ADHD and that part of ADHD, then this is really important. And modeling that for our kids is really important as well. Another thing is giving generously. If you have the opportunity to give of your time, talent, and treasure, that's an amazing thing. And that's going to be really helpful for your kids to be able to see those habits in place. Also, talking respectfully about money. Money is just a tool that as a culture we have decided to exchange value. We could be exchanging Pokemon cards or, houseplants. We could be exchanging anything, but we have decided that paper currency or, our debit cards are the thing that we have agreed on. So, and then not hiding from financial problems that come up. So, it's not necessarily sharing all the dirty details with them, but sharing things that are like, hey, you know what, we're going to tighten things up a little bit this month because, something unexpected happened. And so you're modeling that behavior for them so that and it's not a panic moment, we're being more intentional. So your kids do not need a perfect parent. They need a parent that's willing to grow. And if you're listening to this show, that sounds like you. Right? Doesn't it? There's no requirement to be a perfect parent. And so I just want to encourage you with something that's happened for us recently. So for example, recently our family, my husband's a big golfer, and I hadn't really played since before my daughter was born. And now that she's a little bit older, we're really excited about the opportunity to play golf together as a family and to get better and enjoy the sport that we all love to hate because it's just an opportunity for us to be together and do something that we all enjoy. But I don't have clubs anymore. And so that was one of the things that we were really specific about was we needed to get something that fit my daughter well and that fit me. And so we've shopped and we have planned as a family when we're going to buy those. And so we just recently found a really great deal on a set for myself and a set for my daughter. And we bought those, but it wasn't something that we're like, hey, we're like, let's do this. We took some time. We talked about it. We said, hey, is this going to be a good use of this money? Do we have this money available? We had a little bit of a conversation about it, but we also didn't just jump into making that choice because one, we weren't really sure if that was going to be something that she would enjoy, was having her own and being and wanting to practice and get better at it. So we took some time. From her perspective, it might have been pretty quickly, but my husband and I, it was a conversation that we were having. And then as a family, we decided that was going to be something that we would do. So I share that because some of these things from our kids' perspective it is important that we have these conversations and that we talk about money in a healthy way, but also modeling that behavior for them is going to be far greater than any conversation that we could have with them. I hope that was an encouragement to you today. And I just want to remind you that even in those tiny moments when we're at the grocery store and we're picking snacks or we're planning meals for our family, that those little teaching moments are the things that are going to add up and they're going to remember when that time comes for they're making their own decisions. So those intentional habits like that are going to be the thing that breaks those generational cycles, spending our money with reckless abandon, or we are using credit cards to just maintain day-to-day life. Because progress is more powerful than perfection. I will say that over and over again. It is way better to move forward and progress, even if it feels small, than to try and be perfect, because perfection is nothing. Perfection is not possible. Even if you weren't taught some of these healthy money habits growing up, your story doesn't have to end there. You get to change what normal looks like for you and your family, and you get to change how money is talked about in your household. And I just am so happy for you that you have tuned into this episode. I hope that it was helpful for you. And if you want some additional support in having these conversations, maybe it's with your spouse or your significant other, and building the systems that will work for your family and your ADHD brain, I want to invite you to the Alliance Coaching membership. This is what we do. We have these conversations. I give you tools and tips so that you don't have to do this journey alone. I'll leave the link in the show notes for you. But I would love to hear, what money habit do you hope that your kids remember from your home? So if you're on Threads, find me on there at Jewlz The Budget Nerd, Jewlz The Budget Nerd, and send me a message. I'd love to hear what money habit you hope your kids remember from your home. So remember, our kids are watching us, but that's actually good news because our intentional choices that we make today are part of their future. So I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Debt Rebel Show today. Ready to take your family budgeting to the next level? Stop that paycheck to paycheck grind and start living debt-free? Head over to my website, debtrebelpodcast.com. That's DEBTREBEL podcast.com to grab resources, tools, and tips to make it happen. And don't forget, subscribe, leave a review, and if you know another family that would love hearing today's episode, it would be such a gift for both of us, your friend and me, if you share this episode. And remember, your debt-free life starts with one brave step, and I'm cheering you on every step of the way. We'll talk soon, Debt Rebel.